In this video, we're talking about how to measure length using a metric ruler. Our rulers have two sides. One side is centimeters, while the other has millimeters. You can see in the millimeter side that each of the tiny lines represents 1 millimeter. On the centimeter side, each line represents a millimeter, but the larger ones that have numbers are centimeters. So down here we have 10 millimeters is equal to the same as 1 centimeter. So that's something you want to keep in mind when you're measuring using the metric ruler, whether you're using centimeters or millimeters. We're going to do a little practice. I have a few lines here that we're going to measure to make sure that we understand how to do this. So, if we're going to measure, the very first thing we want to make sure we do is we line up our object or our line with the 0 on the ruler. Always want to make sure we line up with the 0. Now this line here, if we look, it's just at the 2 centimeter mark. So we're going to write 2.0 centimeters. Our next line is not quite 3, not quite 4. It's right in the middle at 3.5 centimeters. Now our next line isn't at 4, isn't at 5. It's on the second smaller line. So we would say 4.2 centimeters. You could say that it's 4 centimeters and 2 millimeters, but when we use the decimals, we're going to say 4.2. Our next one, super close to 5 centimeters, but not quite. So we can't round up. We would have to say 4.9. And then here's our final line. This one hits at about 10.5 centimeters. Now, if we want to measure the same lines, but we want to do them in millimeters, we have a couple options. We can flip over the ruler and use the millimeter side and see that our first line is 20 millimeters. So I'm going to write that here. Our next one is at 35 millimeters. It's in between 30 and 40, so that would be 35 millimeters. Now notice, I'm just moving the decimal over 1. On our step ladder, in order to go from centimeters to millimeters, we move the decimal to the right 1 time. 2.0 becomes 20. 3.5 becomes 35. You're more than welcome to continue measuring with the ruler, or you can simply move the decimal over. 4.2 becomes 42. 4.9 becomes 49. Now this one's where things get tricky. We want to make sure this says 10.5, that this isn't going to be 150, it's only 105. We're only moving the decimal over 1, 105 millimeters. Any questions about measuring length? You can watch the video again or come to me with help.